So thank you for joining us today, New Hope Radio. We have not been live for the longest time. I had to fight my way through the spiders to get in here and get back into the studio. So we're live on 1590 WARV. So glad to be back here. And NewHopeCC.tv. Click Facebook as well. We're riding high on Facebook. And WARV.net. So we're glad to be live. We're going to try to do this every day this week, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after that too. So again, thank you for joining us today. We're going to begin a brand new series. It's a really important series because, you know what? Though we're going to look at the life of somebody else in this series, it's kind of a lot like our lives. That's what's so great about the Bible. That so many of the stories of the lives of the people in the Bible, they can really mirror our lives. And we're going to take a look in this series at the life of a man named Joseph. And you tell me sometimes if his story is not your story, at least to some degree in some aspects of life. Okay? And we're going to learn today that life has lessons. And one of the biggest pains in life, you know what it is? It's wasting the pain of failure. That's a pain. Failure has pain, but there's a worse pain. And that is when you waste that pain and you don't learn from it. You know what happens sometimes when people fail? They focus on the failure instead of what they can learn from it. If you focus on the failure, you're going to increase your pain. But if you start thinking about, oh, what can I learn from this failure? The pain is going to diminish. Okay? So if you don't learn, what's going to happen? You start to make the same mistakes over and over again, and you don't learn anything. And all you're doing is you're adding to the pain of failure. And that's no good. We've all been there. We've all felt that. I know that I have. And we don't like it. We don't want to add to the pain of failure. It's like the guy that was passed over for a promotion in this big company. When he realized that he was passed over, he was so irate. He went to his boss, and he demanded an explanation. He said to his boss, "How could you ignore all of my qualifications? And after all, I've got 25 years of experience with the company." You know what his boss said to him? "You don't have 25 years of experience. You have 1 year of experience 25 times. And what was he saying? That the guy never learned anything. He just kept making the same mistakes over and over and over, and he really wasn't growing. Now, this brings us to the life of Joseph. Joseph is one. Oh yeah, man, he made a lot of mistakes. But he did learn from his mistakes. And he learned how to overcome some pretty bad circumstances in his life. And that right away, there are things that we experience in our lives. We all know that. We have to become overcomers. You got to overcome those things. There's a mountain in your life, you got to climb it. Don't roll over and play dead. Climb the mountain. Attack the hill. If you're living a life of excuses for why you do or don't do what you do, then you're like the guy with 1 year of experience 25 times. See, excuses never move us along. They never move us ahead in life. I say it over and over and over here at New Hope. Life is a journey. It means that we're going somewhere. The idea of a journey is to make progress and to have, an intended destination. Ask yourself, am I making progress, and do I have an intended destination? Now here's something you might not have considered. That the greatest lessons in life do not come with ease. They come with pain. Now I don't like that. You probably don't like it either. I want my great lessons to come with comfort. They don't. You know why? Pain gets our attention. That's the difference. Pain gets our attention. And if you fail to realize that, you'll be consumed again with the pain instead of how to better yourself. So we're always looking to look at that failure and say, okay, what can I learn about me? Or what can I learn about life? What can I learn about how I look at life? See, there are so many avenues that we can pursue. The Apostle James, he had some words of wisdom. He said, you can have joy in your trials, and not because your trials are joyful, because they're not, but because through your faith, they can produce patience, and that patience will make you complete, and you will lack nothing. So the end result of your trials will be joy. You know why? Because you learned something. You bettered yourself. Patience means I can trust God that He's in control when life seems to be out of control. You know what we need in this world today? More people who trust God. We don't have enough. The Bible tells us the majority of people don't trust God. Wow. The minority do. The majority doesn't. That's a shame. But we can only control ourselves. As an individual, learn to trust God. This is called, here it comes, walking by faith. And if you're a Christian today, the Bible says the just, that's the Christian, shall walk by faith. It's what we do. It's how we live. Walking by faith means my everyday routine. I have faith when I'm at home. I have faith when I go to work. I have faith when I'm doing my job. I have faith when I'm having fun. I have faith when I'm being challenged. You're always trusting in God. I'll tell you what, man, if you can be the kind of a person that develops your faith and learns how to trust in God for all circumstances, you're going to eliminate a lot of trouble in your life. Because a lot of the trouble we experience, we bring it on ourselves because of our bad responses to life. We don't respond properly. We get emotional. We get prideful. And then sometimes we become vengeful. Oh, that's no good. When you trust God, you learn to lean on His wisdom and His understanding. The demise of a person begins very small and then increases, sometimes rapidly. Think of a storm. It begins with a small cloud, then a bigger cloud, and more clouds, and then the storm breaks out. That happens in our lives because we fail to learn from our mistakes. Now, we're going to pick it up today as we look at the life of Joseph in Genesis chapter 37, verse 1, and I'm going to use the Contemporary English Version translation. You know why? Because I like it. And here's what it says. Jacob lived in the land of Canaan, where his father Isaac had lived. And this is the story of his family. When Jacob's son Joseph, now Joseph's going to be the star of the show here. When Jacob's son Joseph was 17 years old, he took care of the sheep with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. Now we're going to see this is trouble. The sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. But he was always telling his father all sorts of bad things about his brothers. Joseph would go to his father. He was like a little tattletale. He'd always rat his brothers out for what they were doing. But you know what the real problem was here? That Jacob, Joseph's father, he ignored, just like a lot of people today, the biblical mandate for marriage. And what is the biblical mandate for marriage? One man for one woman. Now, what Jacob did, he was one man, but he took, two women. God's like, no, man, one, one woman. Jacob's like, no, one man, two women. Now, today we've gotten even worse. Now it's like one man and one man. I'm like, what? A one woman and one woman. That's outside of the biblical mandate of marriage. So what happened was, when Jacob took 2 wives, this resulted in a family where Leah, wife number 1, had sons. Rachel, wife number 2, had sons. And then Jacob had concubines, girlfriends, along with his 2 wives. I'm like, what? They had sons. So you can see we got some real dysfunction in this family. Joseph was the son of Rachel, and he was the favorite to her and Jacob. This created great friction among all the other sons. You know, the name Jacob, Joseph's father, the name means deceiver or conniver. And there were times he certainly lived up to his name. He cheated his brother Esau out of his birthright. He gave him a bowl of soup. He got the birthright. He manipulated his father Abraham into giving him the double portion of the inheritance. He entered into polygamy against God's mandate for marriage. This family had become very dysfunctional, and it was a divided family. You see, here's the thing. God knows what he's doing. When God put the family together, he knew exactly the best possible formation. He knew what makes a healthy society. 1 man for 1 woman, and the 2 shall become one. The Bible says, what God has joined together, let no man separate. But we get to verse 2, but Joseph was always telling his father all sorts of bad things about his brothers. It looks like Joseph was his father's little spy. The little spy watching the brothers coming home, ratting them all out. Verse 3, Jacob loved Joseph. This is a big mistake. Jacob loved Joseph more than he did any of his other sons, because Joseph was born after Jacob was very old. And Jacob had given Joseph a fancy coat to show that he was his favorite son. You know, you've heard of the coat of many colors, right? That was a fancy coat. And so Joseph's brothers hated him. It would not be friendly to him. You know, not only was Joseph the favorite, but every time he wore that coat, it was like in your face to his brothers. I'm the favorite. That doesn't set up a healthy family system. You know, it's not easy to manage a blended family. That's why it takes real thought and concern to do so. As a matter of fact, I have a CD message on the blended family. And if you have a blended family today and you are struggling with some aspects of it, you write us or call us here at the church, and I'll send you out that CD for free. It's called The Blended Family. And there's a lot of blended families around today, and sometimes there's some strife. And this will help set some things in order. So you can call us here at the church, 508-324-4500. You can email us, find us online. You can request the CD. Give us your mailing information. We'll send it right out to you. Be happy to do so. So what Jacob did, he planted 2 ideas in his sons' hearts. Number 1, he made Joseph very prideful, singling him out as the favorite son. And that gave Joseph an elevated sense of importance. I'm going to be honest. Nobody likes to be around that kind of person. When you have an elevated sense of importance, it's like you're not fun to be around. And then secondly, Jacob turned his sons against Joseph because they had feelings of rejection. They felt rejected in comparison to Joseph. This family became a breeding ground for hatred, bitterness, and jealousy. And I wonder how many families today look like Jacob's family. Well, maybe this series will be helpful. Stay with it. We got about 6 days of this series. Stay with it and see if it'll help you. So one night, Joseph had a dream. And the next day, he gathered his brothers together to tell them about the dream. And he told them the dream, and he said, "We were out in the field tying bundles of wheat, and my bundles stood up, and your bundles bowed down to it." Whoa. His brothers asked, "Do you really think that you're going to be king and rule over us?" That's what they got from that dream. Now it says, they hated Joseph more than ever because of what he had said about his dream. Joseph's head seems to be inflating. He's the favorite son. He's got a coat to prove it. He flaunts it in front of his brothers. And now he's got this dream saying they're all going to bow down to him. And worse than that, he goes and tells them. You think he started to sense that his brothers were hating him? Did he ever learn that it wasn't a good idea to share dreams like that? That there are certain things that you just don't tell people? That's one of them. Well, guess what? He had another dream. And he told his brothers in this dream, the sun, the moon, and the stars all bowed down to him. Guess who that was? His father, his mother, and his brothers. And then he told his father. And his father basically said, "Are you out of your mind? You think your mother and I are going to bow down to you? Are you like crazy?" And, Joseph lived on a different plane than his brothers. Even his parents. Joseph was a work, all right. But we're going to see that he was a work in progress. His experience of special treatment had now become his expectation. When you're treated special, it becomes normal and then expected. Did that ever happen to you? Maybe someone does something for you a few times and then you begin to expect it all the time. Maybe somebody brings you a cup of coffee at work one day, and the next day, and the next day, and they do it for a few days. And then one day they don't bring it. And you say, "Hey, where's my coffee?" Are you mad at me? How come you didn't bring me a coffee? Well, you set yourself up. You started to expect it. That's what was happening with Joseph. He started expecting things that weren't really his to expect. In verse 11, what happened was Joseph's brothers, they became very jealous of him. But his father kept wondering about the dream. The brothers hated him. They weren't thinking about the dream. But the father was wondering, what could that dream mean? Joseph's dream, believe it or not, did predict his future rise to greatness. God was giving him a sign that he would be elevated. But instead of keeping it to himself, he flaunted it. There are some things, you don't flaunt things to make other people feel less and make you feel more. That's not a good thing to do. They say there are two things that are bad for the heart: running upstairs and running down people. You never want to do those things. You never want to run people down. Okay? Don't make yourself look good by trying to make others look bad. I like the wisdom of Solomon in Proverbs 27. Let another praise you, and not your own mouth, a stranger, and not your own lips. Praise is really nice when it comes from other people. When it comes from yourself, well, it's not that great, is it? So Joseph made 3 mistakes. Number 1, he lacked discernment. What is discernment? Discernment is the ability to judge well, to look at a situation and judge that situation properly. That's discernment. That's so you don't say stupid things and do dumb things. Proverbs 10 says, "On the lips of the discerning wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks understanding." Okay? So discerning lips is a sign of wisdom. You know what to say, you know what not to say. And of course, you know when to say it. Okay? People on Facebook, let's make it contemporary. Man, you Facebookers, you need to remember this. There are people that post stuff on Facebook. It's foolish. It's embarrassing. And you put the whole world out there to see it. I've seen people get in arguments on Facebook for the whole world to see. I've seen family members argue with each other on Facebook for the whole world to see. I'm like, are you crazy? Are you nuts? There is a lack of discernment today in social media. Be so careful, will you? Some people should be embarrassed for the things that they put on Facebook. They put dirty jokes and they think it's funny. And they're Christian. It's like, what? That's funny? That's not funny. And I say, be discerning. When you're involved in social media, be discerning. Okay? You have to look at the situation. This is what discernment is. Look at the situation that you're in. Act accordingly. Don't just be yourself all the time. Somebody says, well, you know, that's who I am. Then don't be who you are. Be someone of wisdom. Be someone of discernment. Okay? Number 2, another mistake Joseph made. He lacked sensitivity. He didn't consider the impact of his words on others. The words that he said to his brothers were very hurtful. I'm not saying the dream wasn't real, but what I'm saying is, when he explained the dream to them, it was very painful to them. Sometimes people say they're just being honest. But even the truth must always be seasoned with salt. Right? Didn't the Apostle Paul say that? Let your speech always be with grace, as though seasoned with salt. What does salt do? Salt adds taste to food. Let your speech be seasoned with grace, so that you will know how you should respond to each person. Should be graceful in our speech. The Bible says that Jesus came full of grace and truth. He wasn't just truth, but he had grace. Because truth can hurt. And that's why you need grace mixed with truth. It's like when you were little and you had to take an aspirin and you didn't like it. So what did your mom do? She got a spoon of jelly and broke up the aspirin, put it in the jelly. Then you ate it. Whoop, at least that's what I did. So you didn't taste the aspirin. You got the truth of the medicine, but you tasted the grace of the jelly. It allowed the medicine to go down. We need grace in our speech. It allows truth to be received. So he demonstrated he wasn't yet ready for the promotion. Joseph had a lot to learn. That's why this message is about life has lessons. And it's okay to fail as long as you learn from your failures. And God was going to give Joseph some real life lessons. So this series, it's about learning from your mistakes. It's not the end when you make a mistake. Oh, here it comes. It's only the end when you fail to learn from it, and then you repeat it over and over and over again. I see people, I wonder if I do that. I probably do. I've made mistakes, and it's like, duh, I go right back, do it again, do it again, do it. And one day I wake up. I probably got a few more I need to wake up to myself that I don't even realize I'm doing it. That's where we are, isn't it? But we've got to do our best to look at the circumstances, to look at our responses, and make sure if they're not right, what changes, what adjustments can I make? Joseph has a lot to learn, but you know what the good news is? He will learn. He's really going to learn. That's the good news. See, life is a teacher. God is like our tutor. The Holy Spirit inside of you, if you're a Christian, brings it to light. If you're not a Christian, it's going to be very difficult to learn. You really need divine wisdom. I'd say, put your trust in God. Put your trust in Jesus. Like we said earlier, the majority of people don't trust God. They don't. You look at the world. Why is the world so bad? Because the majority of people in the world don't trust God. They don't know God. They don't walk with God. They don't trust Him. So they do things their own way. And what's the result? Chaos, war, poverty, all the dilemmas that we have in the world. People blame God, but they're not from God. They're from people. They're from people that are living a life outside of trusting God. The best thing you can do is put your faith in Christ. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to understand it. The gospel is easy to understand. God did not send the Son into the world to judge the world, but that through Him, the world might be saved. That's why Jesus came. Jesus came to die and suffer for the sins of the world, that those that believe in Him will never perish, but have everlasting life. Good Friday is coming up this week. We're going to have a special Good Friday service at 7 o'clock. It's a commemoration of the night the Lord became the sacrificial lamb. And then Sunday morning is the commemoration of His overcoming the grave. He rose from the dead. How cool is that? It was a miracle. I think it's a miracle that He came and died for the sins of the world. I'm like, man, Jesus did that for us. And all He asks us to do is what? Believe. Believe. He said, I came and did the hard work. Can you trust me? Can you believe in me? That's all I'm asking you to do, to believe. And if you can become a follower of Christ, that's when life lessons are going to become a reality. Now you're going to start to learn. And now you're going to become very, very wise. You'll have divine wisdom that you can live by. Divine wisdom. Don't you want that? Of course you do. Of course you want divine wisdom. Why? It prevents you from living in human wisdom, which always falls short. Always does. Huh. Big scare of that. Hey, listen, I'm not even sure what time it is because I'm so rusty and my music's not playing, and this is just not being a great day today. But that's okay. We'll make the best of it. So I'm just going to go off the air. And once again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And I'll see you tomorrow for more of New Hope Radio. Have a great day.